Let's pop you over to Cape Town and bring in our senior reporter, Fikile Mbalula, who's standing by with the Secretary General of the ANC. And no doubt the ANC would have a lot to say about what we saw yesterday, Fikile.
Indeed, and the African National Congress has a lot to say about what transpired yesterday. If we just look at social media, X, particularly the SG's account of the African National Congress, Fikile Mbalula, praising Johan Rupert, praising the president of the country, and a number of and plethora of ANC leaders such as Kusela Tigo and a number of ANC Youth League and ordinary branch members of the party and supporters out hailing President Ramaphosa. Even his biggest critic within the ANC NEC, Andile Lungisa, saying the president displayed diplomatic prowess yesterday in the Oval Office. But I'm going to ask the Secretary General of the ANC, Mr. Mbalula, just the essence of that particular meeting, how as the ANC viewed that particular engagement with President Trump, particularly after that ambush of those falsified claims of white genocide in South Africa.
Thank you very much, Samkelo. I think we may want to characterize yesterday as mission accomplished, because many things have been said about South Africa. It took the head of state to go to White House to sit down with President Trump and to put the record straight for the first time face to face. And President must be applauded for that. He's doing it for his country. He's not doing it for himself. To protect the interest of South Africans. And let's see what get out of it. And we're looking forward to a scenario where in which nothing can be said about us outside the proper channels. And I think yesterday resetting the button meant that the diplomatic channels, the proper channels of engaging, will actually be opened up from yesterday. So it's a great achievement for South Africa. And the president took, and his government took a right decision, which we as the ANC supported right from the outset.
When you look at what transpired yesterday, particularly with the falsified claims of white genocide within the country, shouldn't the president have had the stats pocket in hand of the actual crime stats within the country?
The issue about yesterday, Samkela, was not really about going head-to-head with President Trump about the falsified thing, because it is falsified, was to understand, which we now understood, what is basing his falsification on. First, it was unsubstantiated. Those clips about the leader of the opposition and 5 years memory of white Afrikaners or farmers marching alongside the road and with on the side, saying that this signifies death of white farmers. That showed that the president of the United States was out of depth. He should have brought something to the fore. Secondly, for him to confuse crime to genocide, it's again absurd, because genocide is a political terminology. That means South Africa has got an agenda to extricate or to annihilate a particular race. Then you call it a political genocide, or you call it a genocide. It's a political term. So for him to use that terminology again, it's absurd. So I think all of us would have seen yesterday claims made by AfriForum, started by them, amplified by them. But also, President Trump told us that there are people who are bad-mouthing us, who are very close to him, who are his friends, who are basically white in color. They complain about our laws. They complain about a whole range of other issues that they talk about. And yet, Rupert on the other side said that there is crime. And that crime is black and white. It is not white. White farmers will be affected because they control the land. If you talk about commercial farming in South Africa, is led by white farmers. And if crime statistics in the farms, as long as I was Minister of Police, I went to address them, intensified security arrangement in the farms and all of that, it affects them. And then, but it is across the color line. And that is it. And where perpetrators have been found, many of them have actually been sent to jail. Maybe those statistics were supposed to be counterposed with how many people have been arrested for those crimes. You are right there. But we didn't go, the way I understood the president, to argue a case, because he knew that that is not true. And it was upon President Trump to justify, where does this thing come from? Now we know where does it come from. It is from nowhere. It is just been verbosed, unsubstantiated.
Those friends of President Trump, could it be those whom he asked the president to bring along with him, particularly the golfers? Some of them have been out of the country for quite some time. Some may still be in. They may not be pleased with what's happening in the country. Do you think a person like any else, Gary Player and others, could badmouth South Africa to President Trump, knowing the close proximity they have towards him? And those are his outright spoken friends that he spoke about, saying that he wants them to come along and he's got a good relationship with them.
Well, I know that Gary Player doesn't talk good about us to President Trump. I know that for a fact. I'm not saying it's the president who's saying that, it's Fikile Mbalula who's saying so. And I'm getting it on good vibes, that Gary Player doesn't talk good about us. Any else and everyone else, they love this country. Like everyone else, they are concerned about crime, but at least they had the guts to come along. And when they were invited to speak and all of that, and to me they didn't do a bad job, but equally they will be at the same level as Johan Rupert. It was good for the president to bring people who don't only come from the political fold. If it was me, it will be taken that, no, it's ANC, their own weaknesses and all of that. But we as South Africans, we could see yesterday, there are people who love this country, patriots, in the best interest of all South Africans, who can stick their neck out and defend the country the way Johan Rupert did yesterday. I think, to me, it is an honorable thing to do. But as a citizen, for an individual in such high stakes, to stick their neck out and put the record straight, and I think that should be welcome.
In plain and simple terms, Mr. Mbalula, Johan Rupert, in many people's eyes, may have been perceived to just basically be defending his own self-preservation, his own privilege, his own billions that he currently has through his Richmond Group form of companies. Because ultimately, if the matured grapes that are turned into the fine wine that we drink are not sold to the US markets, he will not make that particular money.
Yes, Samkelo, you could be right about that, but at the end of the day, he didn't have to get into an aeroplane and go there. He could still make his money. Fact of the matter is an Afrikaner. And for that particular reason, he stood out and he did the right thing. He could have gone there and South Africa like all other Afrikaners will do, and all of that, but he chose the right path. Look, what binds us to this country is the common nationhood of being South African. And what binds us to this country is our diversity. And that's what we celebrate. And the fact of the matter is that the president took a diversified team to the U.S. on the invitation of Johan Rupert, but also based on the fact that he knows these people. Sometimes you talk to somebody you don't know, who knows nothing about your country, who even doesn't care. You talk people who know him best. That's what happens. I mean, Joe Biden dealt with us here through an African who was an ambassador in our country and made claims and never withdrew those claims that we were supplying arms to Russia. We put up a commission and the president acted on that. Once more, the president have acted on this particular matter. Americans, Democrats or Republicans, have had reservations about our country, about AGOA. A story has been going on and on even under Democrats. President Trump has welcomed South Africa in a robust engagement in the White House and engaged us face to face about that our country is doing genocide and all of that. And we had a case to prove to him, not only in that press conference, but even beyond that, to reset the buttons and good working relations between us and America. Remember, there is still Capitol Hill, where there are people who believe that we are killing people here. There are people and Republicans and Democrats in the Capitol Hill who believe that South Africa is hell-bent on doing something wrong. They too must be engaged. And America is our second trading partner. And you will understand one day what Ramaphosa had to defend and what Ramaphosa as our president had to endure. And even insults from home, from politicians who don't understand some of the things that we are faced with, the pulling of the plug and many other things that could happen and hurt our economy and hurt this country and turn it into rubbles.
Have you basically bought time until the primaries should do well and his power wanes? Is this meeting about buying time, that you are not hurt as a country economically by Trump?
It didn't start with President Trump. It started a long time ago. This is significant in the evolution of events between the United States and America, that a president went to White House to explain some of the assertions that have been made. But it didn't start with President Trump. And South Africa has taken steps every time this country is being attacked by the United States. Can it be around Lady R and the Russians? Now about the genocide, which you can see where the influence comes from. So it is important that a country like ours, with responsible leadership, take steps to defend the country. Ramaphosa, as our president, did not go to the United States to defend the ANC. He went there to defend South Africa, and which is what is important.
Looking at what has transpired within this particular meeting, Mr. Mbalula, looking at the response of the president, have you spoken to him since that particular engagement with Trump? What has he said to you as the Secretary General of the party?
I've spoken to the president from the moment he briefed us that he's going to the White House. He consulted, he engaged with us as the top 7 of the ANC, and we agreed with that. Secondly, I knew that President Trump and Rupert and them were also involved in trying to engage President Trump on their own about this notion that there is a genocide in South Africa, and they were invited into the White House. Some pusillanimous people on social media challenging me saying that those people were invited by President Trump, that it is not true. And some others who are tired in thinking also, trying to say that why did President take Johan Rupert and not take Mcebisi Jonas and all of that and so on. These are people who don't understand shuttle diplomacy, who don't actually have a full appreciation of the moment we are facing. And the fact that these South Africans themselves took it upon themselves behind closed doors to engage President Trump. What you saw yesterday was a movie. But these engagements have been going on. Yuan Rupert doesn't need television to talk to Trump. He talks to him anytime. Gary Player doesn't need television. Any else plays golf with Trump almost weekly. Ratif Hussain is known. If I'm a president of another country and I know Samkelo, and then you are close to me, you will use everything else to engage. President took Kosatu, took business in to that meeting with President Trump, and even beyond that, to deal with issues of trade. You could see we were focused on that, but we were nearly diverted to the issue of genocide, which is falsification, and the President of the
Mr. Mbalula, the question is,
out of depth in terms of it.
the question is, what were the engagements of you and the President in the past few hours, if you've had any engagements?
Oh, yes, we had engagements. I'm saying to you, you don't listen properly. I have said that President briefed us about the engagement, and then that it is about resetting the button, and then it is about also dealing with trade issues, which is a thorny issue between us and the U.S., between the U.S. government and the legislators in the U.S. And then we discussed a few minutes before that, and that everything is going very well. And I knew that it won't be something like Zelensky, given President Ramaphosa's character and stature. He would not allow matters to get out of hand to that point. He will respect President Trump because that is his terrain, and that is it. And he acted, not to the surprise of many. He was not fake. He was himself, tactician par excellence, and at the same time knowing how to deal with difficult issues. So he was, and then he briefed me about the issue that President Trump invited these South Africans also. He would like them to be part of what tactic was he trying to play out of that? I don't know. But we went there, not with the hand in the cap, with the cap in the hand. We went there with the hand in our heart to defend our country. And that's what actually happened yesterday. So when they played that movie, I could see you characterize it as an ambush. I think it was a mission on the part of Trump to prove this thing about the genocide, because he's been making noise about it. And even after that movie, there was nothing.
Mr. Mbalula, in the past 2 months, have you been to the United States?
I will not respond to that particular question right now. I've been to the United States of America and also engaged with some of the people in the White House, particularly about some of the perceptions that they have about our country, and that's what is important.
So in April, you were in the United States of America laying the ground for this particular engagement that took place yesterday?
No, this is the work of the president. This is the work of our government, working with everybody else. My engagement with the United States people in the White House and all of that was really about issues that related to my party and the lies that have been spread about the ANC and all of that. So I think we settle matters in that regard, because most of the things that have been said are totally untruthful. So it is important that for us to clarify those issues.
So you went to the United States in April after those personal sanctions were going to be offered to ANC leaders?
No, they can even prefer sanctions against us. We don't care about that. But the most important thing is that when there is a fallout between a country like South Africa and the United States of America, leadership must take responsibility, not the ANC only, but the leadership led by Ramaphosa. And Ramaphosa, as our president, have taken necessary steps, and he must be congratulated for that. And as the ANC, we support him in those particular actions.
Thank you very much. That was the Secretary General of the African National Congress, that they themselves are engaging with the members of Congress in the United States of America to try and rekindle those relationships that they had yesterday, particularly noting that the United States of America has said that it will slap personal sanctions against some leaders of the African National Congress. We can reveal as the SABC that indeed the ANC is engaging with members of Congress, particularly on the trajectory of the country, where the country is at, and demystifying the falsehoods and the misinformation of white genocide within the country.
Samgele Maseko, live to us there from Cape Town. For that engagement, Samgele, thanks very much indeed. So many layers to it. And often when you speak to the Secretary General of the ANC, you must have your dictionary close. Pusillanimous is a term that he threw out at some stage there.